So today I just want to tell you why is it that hire purchase works very well in Mombasa and it doesn't work in Nairobi, it doesn't work in any other city in Kenya. I know in Nairobi there are a few people who do it, there are a few dealers who do it, but it doesn't work as well as compared to Mombasa. So this is the thing. If you are buying a car in Kenya, you have three forms of financing. You can either go for what we call bank financing. So this is your structured financial institution where your salary comes through, or where you bank with, or you can go through your SACCO where you save with. So those two financial institutions are what we call bank financing. And that bank financing is actually not for everyone. You must have a relationship with that financial institution for them to qualify you for a loan. And we all know that not all Kenyans have a structured financial system. Not everyone is earning a salary through a bank. So that does not work for many Kenyans. The second option that remains for them is what we call the microfinance institutions. So these are non-deposit taking institutions like Mogo, Mwananchi Credit. What do these institutions do? They come to solve the problem of people who are left out by the banks, but they deal with people who are a bit high risk. So if you don't have a money record, if you don't earn a salary, if you don't have a business that brings in money for you, if you are in CRB, these microfinances will still lend you money, but they also understand that you are a very high risk individual. So the money they give to you, they will not charge the same level of interest like the banks. So be ready to pay a bit with your soul, with your sweat, because the amount of money you will pay back at the end of the loan time, it will be more than what people consider legal. That's why people are very bitter about some of these institutions, because they charge too much interest, but they do that because they deal with very high risk individuals. So if you are left out of the bank, then you can go for those microfinances. And the third option is what is called, local arrangement, or what is called a gentleman agreement. And that is the Muhindi kind of arrangement, and that is the hire purchase arrangement, whereby there is no intermediary. When you deal with microfinances, okay, there is an intermediary. There is the dealer who is selling the car, you buying the vehicle, okay, and then there is this mogo who comes in between and gives the dealer their money, and you are left between you and the microfinance. And that's why dealers in Nairobi, they love microfinances more than the hire purchase. So let's go back to Mombasa. In Mombasa, you go there, you meet a Muhindi or any other car dealer, and they will make a local arrangement with you. They will say, okay, you have 300K deposit. Okay, take the car. You go stay with it. If you manage to pay, well and good. If you don't manage to pay, they will come for it. But why is it that dealers in Mombasa, okay, agree to hire purchase, and dealers in Nairobi don't agree to hire purchase? Because hire purchase is actually not good for dealer businesses, but people in Mombasa, they still do it. When people in Nairobi refuse to do hire purchase, it is not that it cannot work, but dealers in Nairobi, they don't want to take the risk of hire purchase, because if you buy a car through hire purchase, it means that if you are unable to pay, it is the dealer who will come for that car and put it back in the showroom. If you do that in Nairobi as a dealer, where will you take that car? Maybe as a new number plate, KDY, that has only been used for 3 months and the guy was unable to pay. And then the dealer recovers that car and takes it back to the showroom. How will he be able to sell that car? In Nairobi, there is no structured market to sell slightly used vehicles. But in Mombasa, there is a very good market that is very well designed and well structured to sell slightly used vehicles. That's why a Muhindi in Mombasa does not care you failing to pay your loan. He will come for the car and he knows how to take it back to Mombasa and sell it back again. But in Nairobi, that is not the case. So if you find a dealer who is pushing you so much towards the side of microfinances, it is because it is good for his business. But in Mombasa, that's why people will always go to Mombasa. Me, if you ask me the choice between hire purchase and microfinance, I would always say hire purchase any day, any time, as long as you find a dealer who is willing to do it. Just look at this gentleman called Billy Peps. Every day he is in a new showroom shooting videos with vehicles that are slightly used. Okay? In Nairobi, you can't find that. But in Mombasa, they know this business of recovering cars or repossessing cars from defaulters and bringing those cars into the market and selling them competitively. In Nairobi, try to sell a slightly used vehicle. okay, the dealer will lose over 80% of the value of that car if you try to do that, because people will not believe that that car is not faulty, is not accident, it was not returned by a client because it failed to perform well. But in Mombasa, people don't ask these questions. So if you are locked out of the former financial institutions, that is the bank and the SACCO, then you please bypass the microfinances, unless that is your last case. Okay, if that should be your last solution. But in order of preference, in my view, go for bank finances. That is your bank, okay, or your SACCO, because they give you favorable terms. If that does not work, go for go for hire purchase. Okay, if hire purchase does not work, that's the only time you will go to microfinances, because microfinances literally, they finance everyone, anyone. And actually there is someone who told me, if it were not for Mogo, there is actually a mother who told me that his son would have been lost in drugs if it were not for Mogo. Why? That guy had no income, he had no bank statements, okay, so he couldn't be given money by anyone. He did not have enough deposit for hire purchase, okay, so he only needed like 5,000 to go into a motorbike company, these that do electric bikes, and he was funded by Mogo to get that bike. And right now the guy went into business of carrying people with Uber and Bolt, and he recovered from drug addiction. So we appreciate that all these financial institutions have a role to play, but they fund different people. So the difference between hire purchase and microfinance is that hire purchase, you require a higher deposit. So you'll hear people in Mombasa saying you require like 300k, 400k for you to be allowed to take the car. But now when it comes to microfinance, actually sometimes they will give you the car with zero deposit. You don't need to have any money for Mogo to buy this car for you. All they need is you to take this car and start paying for it. And anytime you are unable to pay, they will come for it, okay? But for hire purchase is different. The deposit is a bit higher. And then for the banks, the SACCOs, of course, you need to develop a relationship with them. You need to have a proper standing with them. You have to be transacting with them over time. They have to know you better. And that's how you will be able to qualify for a loan with them. So guys, let me know how that works for you. Unfortunately, none of that will be favorable for importation, because all of these financing models will require the physical asset to be on the ground so that they can do the valuation and decide how much money they will put for you in that financing model. So importation doesn't work with all this, because the car needs to be financed while it is still abroad, unless you are able to pay for what we call CFR until gari ifike Mombasa, and then from Mombasa moving on, then you can bring in a financing company, maybe to pay for the duty, for the clearing and delivery, and maybe insurance. So let me know guys if that helps you in a way or another. And this information I'm sharing here is my own analysis. I mean, it is not the gospel truth. It has not been verified by anyone. It is my own research, and nobody will teach you streetwise information. These are things you encounter people doing, and then all of a sudden you learn how they are done. So you'll never find a textbook talking about all these things I'm teaching you. So I do my own analysis, I go through my own experiences, and I share with you. And your role is to comment there with your view, with your feedback, so that we can get a chance to learn from you as well. Cheers, and see you in my next video.